Imagine this: key US allies, from the UK to the Philippines, are quietly shifting major logistics, defense collaborations, and critical supply chains into Canada. These aren't flashy headlines, but they form a subtle strategic pivot that could reshape North American alliances. Today, we are diving deep, country by country, uncovering what's happening and why almost no one's talking about it. Country 10, Philippines. Why is the Philippines deepening military ties with Canada when it already partners with major powers? In March 2025, Canada and the Philippines finalized negotiations on a Status of Visiting Forces Agreement, SOFA, establishing a legal framework for joint drills, vessel visits, and enhanced interoperability, especially in contested South China Sea areas. This agreement comes as Manila seeks to broaden its defensive posture amid rising Chinese assertiveness. Canada's entry adds depth beyond traditional ties with the US, Australia, and Japan, marking a strategic Indo-Pacific outreach. With combined track records, such as sharing Canada's dark vessel detection system, this pact signals a fortified multilateral network deterring maritime aggression and bolstering rule of law commitments in the region. Country 9. NATO naval partners. Why are multiple NATO navies turning north to Canada's Atlantic ports for maritime missions? Canada's strategic naval hubs, notably Halifax, have become staging grounds for NATO allies like the Netherlands, Denmark, and Greece. During joint operations such as Operation Prosperity Guardian, European fleets dock and coordinate transit through Canadian waters. These developments signal Canada's growing role in convoy protection and Arctic patrol readiness, leveraging its Atlantic and Pacific infrastructures. By sharing logistics with partners, including the US, Canada effectively bolsters NATO's capacity for combined deterrence, enabling rapid deployment across both oceans without over-relying on US bases or routes. This quiet maritime networking is strengthening NATO cohesion under Canada's logistical umbrella. Country 8, Sweden. Why is Sweden choosing Canada's Arctic airspace for its most advanced military exercises? Sweden has begun conducting stealth drone testing and radar drills within Canadian Arctic airspace, capitalizing on Canada's vast, low-traffic zones and integrated NORAD communications. These remote environments offer optimal conditions for electromagnetic testing and systems tuning, free from congested European skies. By sharing airspace resources, Sweden can trial cutting-edge aerospace tech in a collaborative framework, increasing interoperability with North American defense networks. This discrete partnership not only enhances Sweden's tactical readiness, but also reinforces transatlantic trust and capability alignment, positioning Canada as an increasingly essential testbed for northern security innovation. Country 7, Israel. Why are Israeli cyber and AI startups setting up in Toronto and Montreal instead of Silicon Valley? Canada's major cities are drawing Israeli innovators with generous R&D incentives, open-minded tech policies, and welcoming talent pools. Israeli cybersecurity and AI firms are establishing satellite campuses in Toronto and Montreal, leveraging supportive grant systems like Canada's Strategic Innovation Fund. These centers allow tech creators to operate in a collaborative, tightly regulated environment that bridges US market access while avoiding complex oversight and export controls near Washington. For Israel, this is a strategic balance, global engagement without over-reliance on any single Western power. The result is a discrete, but high-impact reorientation of innovation pathways into Canadian jurisdiction. Country 6, South Korea. Why are Korean giants like Samsung and LG shifting production lines to Ontario? South Korean tech leaders are expanding semiconductor and electronics operations in Ontario to secure unfettered North American market access amid US export restrictions. Canada's international trade agreements and stable regulatory climate offer a reliable alternative to US production corridors. These new facilities also benefit from Canadian electric grid capacity, skilled labor, and proximity to both US customers and global supply chains. By diversifying manufacturing into Canada, South Korea mitigates geopolitical risks, including US-China friction, and strengthens bilateral industrial resilience. It's a calculated supply chain pivot, subtly bolstering Canada's tech ecosystem. Country 5, France. Why are French energy firms investing quietly in Canada's LNG export hubs? French energy companies, facing delays in the US due to permitting and political gridlock, are turning to Canada's welcoming East Coast environment for LNG pipeline and export terminal development. Canada's smoother regulatory timeline, port logistics, and stable investment climate offer compelling advantages. These infrastructure moves not only diversify global supply routes but also reinforce France's broader energy strategy within the transatlantic sphere. Though overshadowed by larger geopolitical stories, this pivot reflects France's realignment toward dependable partners like Canada, strengthening the North Atlantic energy architecture without overt fanfare. Country 4, Japan. Why is Japan tapping into Canada's Arctic labs for sensor and stealth innovation? Through Pillar 2 of the AUKUS framework, which includes Canada, Japan is accessing specialized Arctic testing grounds alongside cybersecurity safe networks. Canadian Northern Labs offer aerospace testing zones and cyber-isolated infrastructure ideal for developing next-generation sensors and communication systems. This partnership diminishes reliance on US-based facilities and shields sensitive work from export control scrutiny. For Japan, Canada's geographic advantage and defense-aligned tech network form a strategic buffer, a secure, versatile site for innovation that supports Indo-Pacific deterrence goals, with minimal fanfare and maximum operational discretion. Country 3, Australia. Why is Australia extending its AUKUS strategy into Canadian cold weather logistics? Drawing on ties under AUKUS, Australia is rooting Arctic-capable RD, cold weather naval planning, and secure communications collaboration through Canadian Northern facilities. Canada's shipbuilding campuses, reliable comms satellites, and multi-environment test labs complement Australia's Indo-Pacific defence strategy, offering contingency venues far from US hubs. This arrangement strengthens interoperability and broadens choice in geopolitical shifts. Canada becomes a flexible partner for Australia's security tech trials, without triggering complex US defense export regulations. It's a discrete expansion of AUKUS multi-domain capabilities under Canada's logistical umbrella. Country 2, Germany. Why is Germany integrating with Canada's Arctic Defence Network alongside its UK pact? After signing a mutual defence pact with the UK in July 2025, Germany is tapping into Canada's NORAD-aligned northern air and naval infrastructure as part of a growing transatlantic security alignment. Canadian Arctic bases enable German forces to deploy surveillance, communications, and emergency logistics beyond conventional venues. This relationship gives Germany a strategic northern foothold, supplementing its Euro-based security commitments and reducing US centrism by aligning transatlantic readiness with Canada's geographical reach. It showcases a gradual but potent shift toward shared Arctic defence readiness across NATO allies. Country 1, United Kingdom. Why is the UK redirecting key operations to Canada's Atlantic ports and RD corridors? On June 15, 2025, Canada and the UK established a joint economic and trade working group to deepen ties spanning AI infrastructure, critical minerals, and defence collaboration. While framed in trade terms, this also marks a strategic pivot. The UK is channeling logistics, digital security, and early-stage defence frameworks via Canadian Atlantic hubs like Halifax. I'm Ravi, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of Discovering the Earth. With Washington's protectionist shift, Britain seeks resilient transit routes and operational staging outside US jurisdiction. Canada's strategic geography and trade clarity provide a trusted alternative, south of the Arctic Circle, but north of US dependency. That wraps up our journey across 10 US allies quietly pivoting important operations into Canada, from cybersecurity and energy to naval strategy and Arctic research. What began as small shifts are actually part of a broader, strategic rebalancing that's unfolding out of the public eye. Canada isn't just the friendly neighbor, it's becoming a silent linchpin in global defense, economics, and innovation. And as America recalibrates its role, these allies are looking north for stability, flexibility, and shared value. Do you think this signals a realignment in global power dynamics? Or is it just smart diversification? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and click the bell. Plenty more compelling analysis coming soon.